Welcome to the January 2023 edition of What's in Bloom at the Ruth Bancroft Garden. So each month we prepare a handout for visitors listing some of the plants that are in bloom in that particular month. And so for our video this month, we're going to go through some of those plants and highlight them and show you what's wonderful about them. First up for this month, we have a beautiful little bulb called Lachenalia viridiflora. Viridiflora meaning green flowers. Well, the flowers aren't exactly green, they're really more turquoise, but an extraordinary color. So Lachenalia is a quite large genus of bulbs that come from the western part of South Africa and across the border in southwestern Namibia. So they're winter rainfall plants, and as such, they begin to grow when the winter rains first arrive in the fall. And here they are just coming into bloom now. It's a short plant, but with amazing colored flowers and well worth a close look if you come here to the Ruth Bancroft Garden to see it. Lachenalia viridiflora. This is a plant called the silk tassel bush, Garrya elliptica. So it's in the family Garryaceae, the family taking its name from this genus. And this plant is native to coastal California and northward into southern Oregon. So it occurs along the coast ranges and along the coast in both states. And its name, silk tassel, comes from these wonderful little cascades of flowers that come out when it comes into bloom. In the genus Garrya, there are separate male and female plants. And so the flowers differ between the two. Because the males have longer tassels, then most of our cultivars, such as this one, James Roof, are selected from male plants so as to have that extra long tassel. But the females are quite wonderful as well. Now, as we film this in late December, the flowers are not actually open yet, but we can see all these tassels coming. And actually, back in here, we can even see the old tassel from last year. But this is a wonderful feature of this bush, and it's really extraordinary how many of them it makes. So numerous clusters of tassels that come out, and they elongate as they develop and are a beautiful display on the bush, but not for all that long, just for a few weeks. So just coming up now, Garrya elliptica. Here we have an aloe, Aloe Mutabilis. So aloe is a big genus in the asphodel family, and most of the species occur in Africa, although some occur northward into the Arabian Peninsula and eastward to the island of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean. But this one is one of the South African aloes, and many of the aloes we grow here in California are from South Africa. This one is not a very well-known plant, but it has a very well-known relative, Aloe arborescens. Aloe arborescens is a bigger plant. It gets much taller and makes a big clump over time. But Aloe Mutabilis has the advantage of being from a little bit higher altitude, and as a result, has more cold tolerance. So on a cold winter, when aloe arborescens flowers get ruined by a freeze, Aloe Mutabilis sails right on through. It's able to tolerate temperatures down into the low 20s, lower than what Aloe arborescens can tolerate. The name Mutabilis means changeable, and that's because the flowers, which have a coral colored bud, become paler as the flower opens. And so that little change, which you don't see in arborescens, is a feature of this species, Aloe Mutabilis. Here it is coming into bloom in December and will be blooming right on through January and into February here at the Ruth Bancroft Garden. Aloe Mutabilis. Ruth Bancroft was a big fan of irises, and she planted a very large series of beds of them around her house. But these were mostly the familiar bearded irises that are very extensively bred for centuries now. And here in the garden, we have a true species iris here, and this is Iris unguicularis, called the Algerian Iris. And that's because it comes from Algeria and neighboring Tunisia, but also eastward in Crete and Greece and Turkey and Syria. It's a wonderful early blooming iris. So it starts blooming well before the winter solstice and keeps right on blooming into January and February. So the color could be blue or purple, and ours is a little bit more on the purple side, but a beautiful burst of bright color in the middle of winter, Iris unguicularis. This shrub is Camelosium Matilda. So Camelosium belongs to the genus Myrtaceae, the myrtle family, and they come from Australia, and a lot of them in Western Australia. And this was actually bred in Western Australia. And the flowers bear a close resemblance to the tea trees in the genus Leptospermum in the same family. This one, Matilda, has a very interesting characteristic. The flowers start out white, as you can see here, and then as time goes along, they get red on their petals. And so they become white and then red and white and then redder as they go along. It's a wonderful plant with very fine foliage and prodigious production of flowers in the winter months, just beginning now. Camelosium Matilda. Here we have an aloe hybrid named Aloe GW Miller. So this is a cross that I made some years ago, and it's a cross between two aloes that are far apart from each other. One is Aloe Zub, which comes from Sudan, and the other is Aloe squarosa that comes from the island of Socotra in the Indian Ocean. So this is a hybrid that would not happen by chance in nature, but it really came out to be pretty interesting. So the leaves are heavily spotted and curled back like its Socotran parent, Aloe squarosa, and with the yellow flowers of its other parent, Aloe Zub. And it's really quite a prolific aloe. You can see how it's made dense clumps here and also very free flowering. And it gets that from its parent, Aloe Zub. This plant has been in flower continuously for 11 months now, so that's not bad. Aloe GW Miller. That brings us to the close of our January edition of What's in Bloom at the Ruth Bancroft Garden. But of course, it isn't only the blooms that are wonderful here at the Ruth Bancroft Garden. There's lots of other things to see, like this beautiful hybrid Hechtia with red leaves overlain with a dusting of silver scales, really making a wonderful burst of red and silver. And as you walk around the garden, you'll just notice all sorts of things to see. So come visit us anytime that you can. And if you're not near enough by to come visit, well, check out our website. We've got lots of classes and various offerings and lots of information, such as the plant highlights and the past What's in Blooms and so on. So check it out. The Ruth Bancroft Garden.